And now, your official TigerBait live show with Mike Scarborough and Buddy Songy starts now.
All right, guys, welcome into another edition of TigerBait Live. I think we got a lot to discuss tonight. Big show on tap. LSU men's basketball team down 34-30 at halftime to Alabama State. And I tell you what, let me show you right now. Some people say, well, why are you going live and going up against LSU men's basketball? This is a picture from the game. Look at the stands. It's I don't know what they're going to be able to do to get this the crowd back in interest. They got to win some basketball games. Seems like we got some good news today from the court, though, and Jalen Cook might be on his way to being eligible. That could give Matt McMahon a nice shot in the arm. But I think what most people want to talk about right now is transfer portal, possible coaching staff hires, and a lot of it is still, up in the air and not sure how it's going to go forth or when it's going to happen. And, of course, Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman, that and a lot more. And kind of hearing some things about, who might be on the defensive side of the ball, what recruits are being told out there. And is it going to be an uneventful Wednesday next week? And I think probably the night before on signing day eve. I tend to think they like to do things by the book. And by the book means that on the eve of signing day, we're going to get a slew of transfer portal guys that say they're going to commit to LSU and sign. So welcome in, buddy.
Good to see you, Mike Scarborough. Hope everybody is starting to get your Christmas shopping done. It is December 13. Obviously, a lot has transpired. I am fired.
I didn't even mention the schedule.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, I'm starting off with that. That's why we have each other. We play off each other. I am fired up about this schedule. You know, Mike has some pretty pertinent thoughts and opinions about next year's team. I think it's way up in the air, but three of the first four of the SEC on the road, Mike, kind of like this year, and the back end of the schedule, three of the final four at home. And how about this, folks? LSU's final game in that rivalry week hosting Oklahoma. Boy, it hit me when that schedule was released, Mike. This is a monster conference. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we've got a lot more, but hope everybody's doing well in the holiday season.
Absolutely. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, and gals, if you're enjoying the show, please hit that like button. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I think a lot of people, the reason why they're not subscribed is because they haven't actually filled out a YouTube membership or enrolled in it. And, man, there's some real advantages to being a member of YouTube, and because then you'll be able to subscribe and like to channels, and then everything shows up in a feed of the content that you like. But if you haven't signed up for that, do that. But certainly if you already are, you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do that for us and hit that notification bell. I'm looking at our analytics, and we're probably averaging about 3 videos uploaded a day. And, of course, that varies by season. But we are bringing you a lot of content, and it's all free. And we just asked if you like it, what you're seeing, hit that like button. But I'm going to put it back on the screen. This is the LSU football schedule. Of course, we all knew about LSU versus USC in Las Vegas. Week 2, Mid-Nickel State at LSU on September 7th. September 14th, LSU at South Carolina. The 21st, UCLA comes to Death Valley. South Alabama at LSU the week after that. Then one of 2 open dates on October 5th. Ole Miss at LSU on October 12th. LSU at Arkansas on the 19th of October. LSU at A&M on October 26th. Then the second open date on November 2nd. And then, of course, Alabama comes to Tiger Stadium on November 9th. LSU at Florida on November 16th. Vanderbilt on the 23rd. Usually that's a spot where you'd have a Western Kentucky or somebody, but instead you've got Vanderbilt. I'm not saying it's probably similar. And then, boy, you end this season. Hopefully we've had some really beautiful weather that last weekend in November for LSU games. Oklahoma at LSU. And, buddy, I don't know what that schedule tells you about the future? I mean, is that where Oklahoma and LSU are going to land for years to come, or is that just a one-off?
I don't know. I think we've got to wait to see if they are going to move to 9 games in the conference going into the 2025 season. By the way, 2 open dates, but you still keep the open date before Bama and LSU this year played Bama, Florida back-to-back. Have it. If you're a Florida Gator fan, you know how Dabo said, man, if Clemson was a stock, buy all the Clemson stock you can. Don't be buying any Florida stock because you're going to see it on every magazine and every talk show. I'm serious. I don't know if you looked at the Florida schedule. Billy Napier is 3 sheets in the wind and about 6 feet from being buried. They, to me, have the toughest schedule. It is a monster schedule. And you go 6-7 and 5-7. You're going to see it on every talk show and magazine. Billy Napier will be the guy on the hot spot next year. But Brian Kelly, I like the way this thing works out. Mike, USC and UCLA, we don't know how good those teams will be, but not Pac teams. That's Big Ten teams.
Well, you know,
they're going into the Big Ten.
Did you watch the show?
Yeah.
I thought McElroy made a good point, and he brought up, I saw one of the comments already, is why is there 2 open dates? What is it? Something about an early Labor Day and a late Thanksgiving. And a late Thanksgiving.
Happens once every 5 years, I think.
But it's great. It's great having 2 open dates.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Especially with that schedule. I mean, you look at it and the way it stacks up, it's like, man, where do you have like 2 or 3 weeks of breather? I mean, I guess South Alabama, and then you have an open date. That's your little bit of a breather. But man, it's wall to wall. You don't have where like LSU had this past year where you had basically like 4 or 5 games in a row where you didn't think there was going to be any trouble.
I like the way it sets up. Of course, Vegas. I don't know when's the last time you've been to Vegas. But for a football game, this is going to be an incredible facility. We all know everybody's booked their trip or getting ready to book their trip. And McElroy had another funny comment in the show. By the way, Laura Rutledge, let me tell you something. I think she is the best combination of class, personality, and just delivering it. I wish she was on more.
I'll say it. She's pretty too.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about it. Easy to look at. But she was obviously navigating all the guys. But McElroy talked about USC and LSU. September 1 on ABC, 6:30 in Vegas. He said defense is optional. So,
well, that's true, and it's true.
No, I mean, you know, LSU's defense has got to be better. You think USC's defense is already. By the way, they've already hired the DC.
Let's see what USC does in the portal.
Yeah.
But
look, we'll talk about the schedule, but I think this thing sets up. And if you beat USC, you know, you get a little momentum. UCLA coming in. And then, as we know, 3 of the first 4 in the SEC on the road, 3 of the last 4 in the SEC at home. And, man, Bama, and then at Florida, and then Vandy and Oklahoma. That November is going to be getting spicy. But 2 open dates, going to be a lot of fun to follow and cover. And we appreciate all of you guys and girls being on the ride with us.
I don't know of many LSU fans that have been season ticket holders who probably some years unload a bunch of tickets. This is, I mean, you're not going to top that home slate for a season ticket holder that's been spending a lot of money. You're getting your money's worth.
Sure.
All right, guys, let's dive in. Fire 3449. Hey, Mike, should LSU go get Greg McMahon? Verge has to move the Nichols game to week 0. That'd be good, wouldn't it, if he did that? He also says everybody hit the like button. Also, Preston's show on Monday was good. Yeah, he had a really good show. Him and Zach have been doing a great job on Monday nights. Y'all tune into that. Kevin Winslow, by the way, you mentioned Greg McMahon. I don't – would they do something with special teams? I mean, is that something that they're going to change?
I think it just depends on how the defensive staff plays out, you know?
Yeah. I think he still has his house here.
Yeah.
Kevin Winslow, I trust Coach Kelly's process, but it's been a long time since we had a coach with a system we trust. Coaches are taking jobs and players are committing. Hopefully we don't miss because we waited too late. I think he's got a plan.
And you made a good point earlier, and Mike pointed this out to me. everything that Brian Kelly and that staff do is planned and orchestrated. And there is a method to the madness on timing. And look, last year you mentioned it. You said all those guys, remember, they committed. You went and looked it up, and they were all right there. So he may have some commitments that they haven't released. Once again,
I think they're going to do it all at the same time, just like last year. So if you're a big recruiting guy, person, love following it, transfer portal, that's why you need to subscribe to TigerBait, because we send text alerts with each little breaking news. That's all going to be rolling out. If it goes the way they did last year, and like I said, he's a guy that likes to do, he's a habit guy. And his staff, they like to have that all coordinated and choreographed next Tuesday night between 6 and 8 o'clock p.m.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm glad to see out there a lot of Tiger fans who are impatient like I am, but you're going to have a little patience and trust in the coach.
Big Cojones Kelly. Good evening, Mike, Buddy, and fellow TigerBait BFFs. The schedule looks decent considering all the difficult teams. Go Tigers. Well, and that's another thing that McElroy said tonight. Is this and by the way, I remember when McElroy was new and most LSU fans couldn't stand him. I actually think his comments tonight were much more elevated than Herb Street's when they brought him in. I think McElroy was the best guy on the whole set. But when he said, is this going to be like the NCAA tournament where, because of these really looking around the league and these marquee games, Texas and Michigan, LSU, USC, LSU, UCLA, et cetera, all throughout the league. Is that going to be kind of like the NCAA tournament at the end, where the losses and the strength of schedule can help you when it comes to being one of those teams that gets in the 12?
Yeah, and Krabs, look, I'll tell you one of the things I noticed, Mike, the 4 games on the road in the SEC. And it's harder to win on the road than it is at home. At South Carolina early in week 3, at Arkansas and Texas A&M back-to-back, and then at Florida. Look, Florida's going to be beat up by the time you get to the back end of the schedule. Go look up Florida's schedule. ATN's already leaving. They've had 14 or 15 players leave the transfer portal. I'm not trying to pick on Sunbelt Billy, but it's going to be a tough year for him to overcome. But Carolina is very winnable in week 3. Arkansas, Pittman can't ever keep his great players, and they always lose a bunch. Now they bring in some new coaches. A&M, who knows what Elko's going to do?
Bobby Petrino.
By the way, Arkansas have Bobby Petrino. And the big news this weekend, some people got ruffled about Tommy Moffitt going over to be in the strength and conditioning.
Can't get ruffled for that. He's making a good living.
Yeah, I mean, don't blame Tommy, but I think that look, you don't just walk in and all of a sudden make people big, strong, mean, and nasty by the big numbers. I will say this: Texas A&M's got some defensive talent. How much?
But that is kind of shocking to me. Now I'm assuming there's no doubt that he's had people inquire schools, but and he was probably able to hold out and wait. But I'm surprised that he hadn't been scooped up by now.
Well, early on in his career, Tommy Moffitt's wife wanted him to stay, and he did have overtures from the NFL. And look, I'm sure he got a lot of great resumes, but I said this to you earlier today. It is hard now. I don't care who you are. You start getting 15 plus years, 20 years, it's hard to continue at that level. And let's be honest, the last couple of years, that LSU football team looked heavy, and I think this is going to be interesting to see.
They probably energized him.
Yeah,
the time off.
Absolutely.
It might be a good thing, really good.
We wish Tommy the best, but
only so far.
It's not going to kill LSU. Trust me.
A lot of people question the 2 buys. There you go. Palermo Trapani. Labor Day to November 30 is 14 weeks. Labor Day to last Saturday this year was 13 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Real Louisianimal, they need some depth maniac players to bring LSU's men basketball back. We are more mediocre in basketball recruiting than we are in football recruiting. Coaching has to match the intensity, the hype. I mean, what are we talking about this week? I say we. Of course, we were in the arena last night for the women's game, and they're playing McNeese, and So you have media there from Lake Charles, and of course we're all talking to him. Man, y'all getting excited for Sunday? Will Wade back in the fold, and he's got Bob Marlin and ULL coming to Lake Charles, and it's sold out. And I mean that's the exciting game of the week, and where the excitement is. And look, Will Wade is going to be in the NCAA tournament. I mean, it all sets up for him. They host the Southland Conference tournament. There's no strong number 2 team. In year one, the odds of him being in the NCAA tournament are like at 90%. And he's got a good team for that league. All right. But
Matt McMahon's a nice guy.
But
I don't want to say too much right now, but I will say this. Generally speaking, if it was a competitive team and worth seeing and watching, we would not be going up against opposite. The guard play has been atrocious. I hope Jalen Cook can come in and be the guy that distributes the rock and give him a little offense. But Mike Williams and Trey Hannibal. Trey Hannibal's like a runaway freight train, a bat out of hell, and they just have regressed the last couple of games. So hopefully they'll pull it out. They play Texas this weekend, but man, it's hard to look at LSU men's hoops with a half full glass, Mike.
It's 45-40 now, LSU, with 14-19 left to play in the game.
Yeah, you ought to win that game by 10 points or more on a SWAC team.
Right.
Although Southern did beat Mississippi State about a week ago, so shocker.
Bill Freer, that OU game is going to be like a Bama game. I mean, look, buddy, you go week by week, and unless you show me some defensive tackles, man, I was doing it early before you got here, and I know you don't like me doing it, and it's too early.
No, you do what you want.
They better get some defensive tackles in here in the next week.
I understand that, but look,
none of the high school guys that are in the class, and even if you flip McKinley, and McKinley's saying he's going to February, none of those guys are going to be what you need to help you next year. They're all guys who need time in the program. They need immediate help in the interior defensive line. And I'm assuming we're going to hear something from Wingo any day now, saying he's going out. But boy, I know I'm beating.
No, all I'm saying, Mike, is this: you're going to bring in 35 to 40 new players. That is almost 40-something% of your roster. I'll just ask you a quick question: did you think Kelly would win the West and go to Atlanta in year one?
No.
Okay. Did you think Jaden Daniels, when we were going to practice and all that, did you think he possibly could have a Heisman Trophy and LSU lead the country in offense?
No.
Okay. So I don't think we have any kind of clue as to what they're going to do. Brian Kelly has done this for a long time. He knows he's been in the SEC for 2 years. He's gone just about everywhere. But Texas and Oklahoma,
but I will say this: Jaden Daniels masked a lot of problems in that LSU.
Oh, there's no doubt.
And he ain't there anymore.
I understand all that, but all I'm saying is that I don't have a clue how they're going to look. I don't know if Mason Smith and Savion Jones are coming back. I don't know if they're going to play with Weeks in the right spot and Deshaun Womack and Toviano and all that. This is why I've been hell-bent on that change at D.C. They've got to coach a lot better, but I'm not ready to say we have an idea what LSU is going to look like in 2024. I just think it's way too early.
Yeah. Palermo Trapani. Yeah, Florida plays 11 FBS teams. 10 are in bowls this season.
Oh, Florida's brutal, man.
Um,
And, of course, LSU will be at Florida in Game 10 and then finish up the last two games of Vandy and OU. Man, some of these games that Georgia's playing, Bama's playing, Texas is playing, OU's playing. It is going – remember how this year we saw some weeks and said, not that many great games. Man, with the teams going into the Big Ten and Texas and OU coming in the SEC, it's going to be a fantastic season. Great games every weekend. And, of course, look, you got to win the opener. You know how it is. You don't want to start on a negative. They've got to win the opening game, and Brian Kelly has not done that the last 2 years against a team that, as we know, will be good offensively. How good is LSU's offense going to be? By the way, Nuss probably, more than likely, 99% chance, going to start his first game at quarterback at LSU. But how about this? Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. and others practicing. Man, I'm fired up if those guys, if the receivers play, I'm kind of excited.
And that gives them a real opportunity. If Nussmeier has a really strong game, that really is catapults things into the spring, a real positive outlook for next season. Maybe get some of the questions removed as, can he be a starter? Can he get it done? Well, I mean, look, I say what you want about the ReliaQuest Bowl. It's a New Year's Day bowl. And it's on national television. He's going to be the guy, and you got to execute.
But you're exactly right now. LSU does have to answer the questions at the defensive, and we're talking all three levels. We're talking at the line of scrimmage. We're talking about linebackers and utilization of those linebackers, and you've got to get some semblance of DBU back.
Palermo Nuss Bus Driver, I agree. If you can get a quarterback that is a redshirt freshman this year, 3 years left, who had some starts, you take a quarterback. No way you bring in a guy that, you guys know I've been talking about getting a transfer portal quarterback for 6 months or more. And I can tell you, you can just tell by who they've been approaching and talking to, that they're not going out and if you rated all the quarterbacks in the portal, they're not, and I'm just going to make up a number, say there's 25 of them in there. They're not going for the guys in the top 10. They're going the guys that are 15 to, 12 to 20. Guys that are being told, look, we want you to come in and be a quality backup to Garrett Nussmeier. They're not going for the number one guy on the quarterback board in the portal. Because if you did, then Nussmeier might get in the portal, and you're right in the same boat again.
See, I don't buy the Nussmeier in the portal. He's waited all this time. He's not leaving LSU. This is his team, his opportunity to start. I think it not necessarily come be a backup, but come compete for number 2, because with an injury, your butt is in the game. Folks, you just can't turn the ball over to Ricky Collins or Colin Hurley, 2 guys that have never played a snap. I know Ricky played a few snaps, but so you've got to get a guy that's experienced, and you would think, seeing what Nussmeier's skill set is, you get a dual threat guy that gives Den Brock and Coach Kelly an opportunity to have some special playbook plays for a dual threat guy that can run.
Yeah, MJ Morris committed to Maryland this afternoon, and so Marshall transfer Cam Fancher is the guy to maybe focus on a little bit right now, and there might be 1 or 2 others. So we'll see. And he threw for 11 touchdowns on 2,162 yards. Also had 11 interceptions in 10 games. So I think he's probably right in that bill that I was talking about.
Well, Jaden Daniels said 10 and 10.
My whole point, though, is you just better be damn sure that Garrett Nussmeier can be an elite SEC starter if that's going to be your approach, that you're going to go to the portal and get a mid-level guy and not go for an elite guy on purpose.
Well, they brought in Jaden Daniels, and of course, there were a lot of guys that wanted to play at quarterback. Folks, it's a double-edged sword. Everybody knows that if you can't offer me playing time, I'm going to leave. Everybody knows the experienced quarterbacks are getting $1 million plus, but you've got to have an insurance policy. And we saw it bite Florida State in the butt. We saw it bite Texas A&M in the butt. You have to have 3 or 4 scholarship quarterbacks that can play, because it's not going to get any easier with Texas and OU coming in.
All right, let's hear from Mike and Alex.
Hi, I'm Michael.
I'm Alex.
At Pride Roofing, we handle commercial and residential work.
TPO, shingle, and metal inventory.
We got it. Property still in disarray from the recent hailstorm. Insurance claims?
No problem. But Pride Roofing is the official roofer at TigerBait.com.
In fact, notify TigerBait, and we'll give you a free roof inspection. And on top of that, you get a free year subscription. Call 855-PRIDE-16. Se habla Espanol.
All right. Talked to Mike Faraday earlier today, and they've been doing a ton of outreach in the community, toy drives, um, you name it, canned good drives. They've been doing everything in the community, donating to schools, basketballs, and so forth. And you can't beat what Pride is doing for South Louisiana and giving back to the areas. 855 Pride 16. Tell them you heard about them on TigerBait. With your free roof inspection, they're going to pay for you to have TigerBait Premium free for a year. They pay that bill. And so, again, based in Hammond, a location here in Baton Rouge, Houma, New Orleans, and they've got you covered all throughout Southeast Louisiana and Baton Rouge. And, of course, Mike Faraday is a Broadmoor High LSU grad, and I grew up with him, and there's no finer people. Give Pride Roofing a call, and trust me, all the TigerBait folks that have reached out to them and end up getting roofs from them have been happy with their experience dealing with Pride.
Hey, real quick, to check all the boxes: commercial, residential, and metal roofs. Metal roofs continue to be very hot. We talk about it, folks. Our MO, our promise to you: the roof over your head is just as important as the roof over ours. Baton Rouge, building it up, 275-2041. If you get an answering machine, please leave us a message. And once again, we take great pride in them being a sponsor because, as we said last year, Mike, we've been around a long time. They will take care of it as soon as they get there. They'll work the pencil. They'll give you the best deal, quality materials. And once again, we all know we've been lucky not having the hurricanes, but they're going to put something up there that you are not going to have a lot of maintenance for, and they do a great job at service. So once again, give them an opportunity. You will not be disappointed, Mike and Alex, and they're great staff. And by the way, they're great recruiters. If you saw their two wives, Tammy and Yessie.
Is it LSU going to get an A&M? Anybody from A&M? You saw they offered the OL Strickland. Let's see how it's going to happen. You think? What do you think?
I think Gilbert's going to be a DB that comes over.
Oh yeah, Jordan Gilbert.
Oh, well, he's from A&M,
right?
But I think he wants more than that, and that we got to wait to see. But you know, I ask you this all the time. Drayon Miller did surprise some people. He got to Rocky Mountain High and decided to go Colorado with his commitment. Bussy, obviously. And Mike, as we know, they are starting to lose because of Elko coming in and bringing in some of his coaches. The departure of Elijah over to Syracuse, that is damaged some relationships. But just like with LSU, you know, when you come in and you're paying all this money for a guy, you got to give him an opportunity to do it his way. But hopefully, what do you think? 2 or 3, maybe?
I think I really like Xavion Thomas and what I'm hearing about him yesterday. Got a little intel there. Wide receiver, Frank Wilson's really working him.
And a great punt returner.
Absolutely. Oregon and others are a part of there. I know Ohio State's trying to get in on him. You got Decameron Richardson, also from Mississippi State, a corner that LSU's going after and looking at. You know, but you know, you're looking at Overton and Walter Nolan at A&M. I mean, Nolan ain't gonna be cheap.
Yeah, well, that's why people are freaking out, because they want some of these verbal commitments to unleash that information. Sit tight. Mike has been setting this up for you. Look for a wave of activity. What? Starting that Tuesday right before signing day. 1 week away, folks. Signing day. 7:30 in the morning. Mike, you and I think 35 or so, or 30 to 35. That by the time you include portal and recruits.
Yeah.
So, like we said, a lot of toys under the Christmas tree for you Tiger fans coming.
Fire 3449, Mike. Any chance that Brian Thomas Jr. returns if he doesn't get a first-round grade in the draft? I don't think so.
He got 15 touchdown receptions. There's no way he can gamble, getting it injured, and no way he can gamble that he'll have those kind of stats. Man, this guy looks like a gazelle.
Yeah.
I think Brian Thomas Jr. realizes that, and you remember what school he almost went to. Alabama.
Mhm.
LSU had to work hard to keep him here. Hey, the guy that's his best friend, do you think Chris Hilton can finally put it together for next year?
Can he stay healthy for any length of time? You know, which of the freshmen are you think is going to step up? Is it going to be Shelton Sampson?
Could be.
Parker?
Could be.
Brown?
Jalen Brown and Aaron Anderson. Got to find a better niche and role for Aaron Anderson this next year.
Absolutely.
Kai Preen or Preen. I used to say Preen, but we don't know what he's going to do.
Paul from Metairie says, any news on a DL coach? I was on with Eric Asher this afternoon, and I kind of said a few things that made the rounds. It got on message boards, and I'll say this. There's some buzz out there that I've been picking up. I think there's some things that are being said to defensive linemen out there about what might take place at that position. And I'll just say this. If it comes to pass with what I'm hearing, I think LSU fans are going to be extremely excited.
And once again, be cognizant. Everybody's so impatient, but coaches have responsibilities. And some coaches are still coaching. Some coaches are still recruiting. And so all of this is going to happen very quickly. But I think the main point you want to get out there tonight, BK knows he's got to fix that defense. He knows.
Yeah. It was just embarrassing. But look, I don't give a damn what defensive line coach or whatever you bring in. You got to get some Jims and Joes in here. And I mean, what do I need to do? Stand on my head and shoot off bottle rockets? Where's the beef? My buddy?
Clara said that many years ago in the commercial.
Yes, only brings up Kyle Williams for D-Long. You need a few Kyle Williamses is what you need. I see a few people posting about Rustin. What a season they had.
Yep. By the way, Trey Green is man. Cameron Pimpton, 6'7", about 245, and whatever Trey Green is going to show up in. I am thinking that Denbrock and Kelly have to be salivating. Mason Taylor's got to be better. He just wasn't right. He wasn't healthy. He couldn't get away from that first tackler and a little banged up. But, man, to be able to have these two guys, Trey Green almost looks like to me he could be a big receiver in the slot. Same thing with Pimpton. It's going to be fun to see this next year offense evolve.
American Patriot with a super chat. Thank you for that, American Patriot. He's always with us every week. One of our great supporters here on the channel. Does LSU have a setup where fans can donate to raise money for NIL? When is the date to declare for the NFL? What is that, buddy?
I don't have that in front of me.
It's not hard to find, but it's not something that I have readily handy. You guys in the chat, post it. What's the best way for someone to get involved with NIL? Please post it in the comments section. And if you got a link, put it there. Don't mind. Bayou Traditions. There you go, Chance Babin. There you go. American Patriot, thank you for that super chat. 84 tight end is no slouch either.
No, Mac Markway scored his first touchdown late in the year, and he's a good one as well.
Yeah, would you call that a sophomore slump that Mason Taylor had?
I don't know if it's a slump, but, man, it's hard to give him a lot of targets when you've got Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. and Kyron Lacy.
I thought he was going to have a much bigger sophomore.
I did too. I really did. But like I said, who would have thought Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. would have 29 touchdowns between the two? Right. Oh, by the way, remember last week, we kind of knew he was going to get screwed because of the damn name recognition of Marvin Harrison Jr. But back earlier, there's no way Brian Thomas Jr. comes back. I don't think he risked that. And look, the mock drafts I'm seeing, Jaden Daniels in the top 10, Malik Neighbors in the top 10, Brian Thomas Jr. climbing and in the low 20s right now. So you could have 3 first round.
Where would you like to see Jaden Daniels end up?
Oh, I don't know, but anybody fantasizing about him being picked by the Saints is truly fantasy land.
Do you want him to go there, or is that a positive, or is that more like a sentence?
What?
with that coaching staff and
Oh,
the
goodness.
regime in New Orleans.
I don't know who's less deserving of a job next year, Pete Carmichael or Matt House.
Yeah. Or Loomis.
Yeah, well, he's
all right. I tell you what, we got one. Let's hear from. And of course, Kenny is the official lawyer of TigerBait.com, and he reserves the right to think most clearly for a paying client. You need any legal work done in North Louisiana, Kenny is your guy. And if you've got something that's an expertise that he doesn't have, I assure you he's going to refer you to the top guy in that field up there, and is probably right there in his firm with him. So give Kenny a call with any legal needs that you have in North Louisiana. He's the best.
fantastic contributor to the message boards, and all of that talk especially brings the legal knowledge. Just looked it up, Mike. January 15th, last day underclassmen have until they have to declare for the draft.
Jeff Garman, I just don't want to see Jaden playing in extreme cold weather. The Saints would probably trade the first round pick for Bill just so they don't have to draft a quarterback. Danny England says Bo Davis.
Bo knows.
Frank McCaffrey at Robert Nuss has a schedule to beat Milroe for the trophy. Boy, it's
Well, I've seen 3 or 4 people here all deem Jalen Milroe as the favorite for the Heisman. I think it's a little too early, but he is a hell of an athlete playing quarterback. I think, and I've said this in numerous, and I want to get your opinion, but look, you got Burrow, and we never thought we'd see another Burrow, especially so quickly after Joe and another Heisman Trophy winner. But please, fans, do yourself a favor and do Garrett Nussmeier a favor. If you want to start throwing criticism and, man, he did this and he did, but compare Nuss to Burrow in 18 and Daniels in 2022.
That's fair.
Not Daniels in 23 and Burrow in 19. But you know how it is. You get fed filet mignon. And that's what this offense was this year. You don't want to go back to red beans and rice, even in South Louisiana, with Manda sausage on a Monday. So give him a little room. Over and under yards passing for Nuss in the bowl game. If Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., what do you say? 300? Fair number?
I think 280 to 320.
Okay. All right. But give that man a little chance because he's going to get on the job training. And
well, let me ask you this. We now have 2 openers under BK. Is there anything that concerns you? And of course, look, you can make all the reasons with all the transfer portal newcomers and this and that. But do you think there's a pattern here to where his teams are not ready to go week 1 and his teams might be slow starters?
Well, so far history has proven that. But by the way, the following 2 years, LSU with a home and home against Clemson. Now, as we know, there's going to be discussion with whether or not they're going to go to non-conference games. Man, after seeing that schedule now, I don't know if they're going to want to go to non-conference games because this thing really.
Well, you remember the debate, and it was like, man, how are they going to get it done? And everybody was mad they were going to stick with 8. And then when you started seeing what the opponents were going to be, I said, man, they actually did a pretty damn good job.
Absolutely.
Of putting it together. And
I give I'm sure the computer and all the other people involved, but my point is.
But let me ask you this. But when you see the marquee non-conference matchups that are going around the league right now, is there any hurry to go to 9 games?
No, that's what I'm saying. Notre Dame's playing A&M, and Wisconsin's got a big. It's going to be a lot of fun in 2020.
I mean, because teams are scheduling better non-conference games, you're not in a deal where it's been where LSU's scheduled some really nice non-conference games, and everybody in the Elsa is playing the Citadel.
Well, just for LSU fans to realize something real quick, 5 automatic conference teams in. The top 4 are all going to have byes, and that leaves 7 spots, Mike. That's not many when you talk about the other conferences. Everybody's thinking the SEC is going to get 3 and 4 in there that first year. Let's see how it plays out, but I do think that
can they get 4? You think they can get 4 in year 1?
I just too early to know because look,
they're definitely getting in 3.
Well, we'll see. But my point is that 5 are automatic guarantees. First time since 1991. My bad, 1991, since they did not have divisions. So won't be any divisions. 2 best teams with the records will be the 2 in Atlanta.
Yeah, Reaper says 8. I mean, there's some years where you could probably make an argument for 4 or 5.
Well, but once again, you got to remember there are a lot of other good teams like Ohio State and Michigan. You think both of those teams are going to get in? Yeah, you expect that, right? So we'll see. But college football, we always worry about NIL. Is it going to make it unwatchable and too much pro? The transfer portal. Oh, by the way, in case you didn't hear the big news, a judge in West Virginia went to bat, like Tiger Shark and Kenny says, the NCAA is over in the courtroom.
But they got to fix that. That can't be permanent.
What, you talking about?
Where they can just go anytime they want, multiple times.
Yeah, well, no. They said for a second time now, any of the transfers that are going to a second stop, like Jalen Cook, that have been ruled ineligible. NCAA had that weird-ass rule where they had waivers for some. North Carolina sued to get their wide receiver eligible. He did. So Jalen Cook is now on a 14-day window. They'll visit it again on December the 27th. But good news for guys like Jalen Cook.
Dan England, have you been hearing if Blake Baker or Lance Guidry being mentioned? I've heard some Lance Guidry. Of course, Blake Baker's been bandied about here for several weeks. But Lance Guidry's been picking up some steam in the last few days. I don't think Matt House, based on what I know, I don't think Matt House has any idea what his future is right now.
Well, you've heard me say all of the jokes, so I'm out of breath with all of that. I just, like I said, I think we're all going to be happy at some point here when decisions are made and information is released. But let's be honest, folks. And this is one of the things I said. It's not against Matt House, Mike, but watching the Dallas Cowboys and watching Georgia and Alabama and A&M and all that, I just don't like playing that soft-ass passive defense. And LSU's got to get big uglies at the line of scrimmage that throw people around like an empty Coke can. They got to get linebackers that can run and tackle and cover in space. And you got to get DBs that can play nickel and dime and have some takeaways. But to me, the biggest thing I hated about it is backing up and letting them throw in front of you and then coming up and tackle. Go get that son of a gun and just have to be more aggressive. And I think Coach Kelly's smart enough to know. And all this talk, well, they don't know the system. It's too complicated. Let me tell you what a guy does know. You go get the quarterback. It makes you a lot of money. Get your ass back there. And that's what they want to play on defense. And you also got to fix Harold Perkins. Let's be honest. You've got to find a spot to him that he's going to max out to have a high draft pick in year 3.
All right. It's let's talk about
Koala, koala.
Team at Koala Installation of Baton Rouge are your residential commercial energy efficiency experts. The approaches that Koala provides not only help you reduce energy bills and maintain a more comfortable living environment, but can also help reduce airborne allergens, water condensation issues, wear and tear on your HVAC system, and even lengthen the life of your roof shingles. Give Koala a call today, 225-457-1001. Tim DeSales and his group are absolutely fantastic. Did some remarkable work in my home. Give them a call today, 225-457-1001 to schedule your free energy efficiency assessment. And when you do, please tell them you heard about them on TigerBait, because they're going to give you 7% off on your project. And it's amazing. They've got all the different insulation types that they can take care of in your attic. And again, we're proud to have them as a part of our TigerBait show each and every week. Sponsors. So there you go.
By the way, LSU has extended the lead 70-54 over Alabama State. So it does look like
3 minutes left.
They had a good talk at halftime. And once again, look, we normally would not go up against LSU hoops, but it has been, well, let's just say it. It's been hard to watch, and the women have been a lot more entertaining and more enjoyable to watch. Of course, everybody knows Haley Van Lift's got a little foot problem, but Mike, you were there last night. Just an incredible. I text Mike.
That
early.
was a bad game.
I text you early in the game and said they win by 37. We've never seen this before. Coach Monkey's never seen it before. 47-0 run. That's almost unfathomable. How can you do that?
It's my understanding that the coach at McNeese believes in recruiting international players almost exclusively. And that is not the obviously is not the answer for McNeese. We'll see how they fare in Southland Conference play, but it really I was feeling really bad for those girls, because I know in high school basketball, when it gets bad like that, they'll have a running clock in the second half. If there was such a rule in women's college basketball, they should have absolutely done it last night, because that it was really bad, and the crowds were hitting the exits at halftime.
Yeah,
it was. They just look. You're seeing all the threes getting hit, and you know the positive was you were seeing almost the entire fourth period, the backups getting some valuable time in there. But I was laughing at some of the comments on our YouTube channel today, and replying to Mulkey's post game, and talking about the cupcake schedule. Those games like McNeese are always on the schedule. Don't forget they played Colorado and Virginia Tech and one or two others that are decent basketball teams.
Well, look, some people just don't like him and don't like the fact that she's got 4 rings and she's bringing back LSU to pointing towards once again. That is going to be a scalper's market when they play South Carolina. I think you'll have people getting extra money for that ticket. Once again, back to the men. They play Texas on Saturday. Lady Tigers play Northwestern State on Sunday.
Jake Guillory with a super chat. Thank you for that, Jake. He says, late to the show on the recruiting front, shout out to Xavier Atkins. He will be playing the Texas 6A Division II championship game. Looking forward to supporting the Bulldogs and our future Tiger. There you go.
He's had a great last 3 months. Remember, there was some fluctuation on whether or not he was going to stick and all that. But
yeah, he broke his commitment right here on TigerBait on our YouTube channel.
Sure.
But yeah, that was one we just knew he was going to flip to A&M, and it never happened. All right, let's see. Let me scroll up. Reaper says Perkins needs to play the same position as Jamal Adams did. Same type of frame, Perk probably faster. Perk is a little bit bigger, but Jamal Adams was a pretty darn built safety. Perkins is bigger, but Perkins also at the same time really does have a running back frame.
Yeah.
That's why it gets tricky as to whether you're strictly going to use him as an edge rusher, and then size-wise, can he be can you lock him into just strictly being a traditional linebacker? But he's special. They've got to figure it out.
Well, and
they have to figure it out and also make it look to where, because what are NFL teams looking at when they see him? How do you play him?
Well, they've got to do a better job of playing the right linebackers, and I think every Tiger fan out there listening and watching would agree with that. That did not make a lot of sense on their linebacker personnel. But look, everybody knows the story. Didn't play Perkins until the seventh game. Had 8 plays against Tennessee, and then this year moved him inside and blew that game plan up after 1 week. And I don't think he really felt comfortable until that last game. He looked like he fit in that same spot, but we'll see what the next guy does with him.
We got a lot of stuff happening here in the next week. What do you have? A big Barnes & Noble book signing with Mulkey and Samaya and Flaugier
Saturday, 1 o'clock.
We got a release for the media about what our access is next week. And we've got several opportunities, players going out and wrapping gifts and so forth. But we're going to get 45 minutes of practice on Tuesday. And so we're going to bring you a lot of video footage from that next week. We're going to get Brian Kelly on signing day. That time will be determined. I'm sure it basically depends on how soon they get all the national letters of intent brought in, and they'll let us know what time to be there. But yeah, it's they're practicing, and men's and women's basketball games are back to a regular schedule at post exams. And good news, it looks like, for Jalen Cook. Just need to see what LSU does in the portal next Tuesday night, and then what happens Wednesday to fill out the rest of this class. And then there's going to be some guys that are going to wait till February. Don't forget that. There's several guys that LSU's got on their board that are not going to sign next week.
And, of course, we know the transfer portal opened on Monday, December 4th. You have 30 days as long as you're not in the CFP playoffs. We just looked it up, January 15, the date where you have to declare for the NFL. Quincy Wiggins and a couple of other guys, now Marlon Martinez, so now 7 in the portal. I still think there might be a few more, but we'll also find out when we talk to and you'll have access. You'll find out who's practicing next Tuesday.
We'll say this. You have to say that now through 3 of these that BK has done an excellent job of keeping current roster guys in the program. I think other than Quincy Wiggins, that's probably the one that he didn't want to leave, but all the rest of them are basically the normal guys that you would have in attrition in a year in years past. So they did a darn good job on that. And I tell you what, they've been real busy. You know what I'm noticing is that someone asked me the other day, no one's listed as the recruiting coordinator on the staff. But isn't it obvious how big Frank Wilson is?
I thought Frank
Wilson is everywhere.
Yeah, he is. And, of course, him and BK went to visit Dominic McKinley and his brother.
Yep. And they're out in force. Got a couple of visitors this weekend. We're going to have more of that on TigerBait. Also on TigerBait, we've had loads of footage. My girl Jo was in the Superdome all weekend, and we have put up multiple packages of LSU recruiting targets. We put up James Simon today. That kid is an absolute beast. And so, yeah, we've got a lot coming your way here in the coming weeks. Go to TigerBait.com. Be sure if you subscribe, now's the time to do it for $1. Once you're subscribed, go to our Tiger Den premium message board, and there's a push pin post at the top on how to register for text alerts. You want to get those, and believe me, I don't spam you. I only send you the stuff that's really big that I know you're going to want sent to your phone once something happens. Be sure to sign up for that. That's a free, that comes with your TigerBait premium subscription. Anything you want to add on the way up?
Yeah, next week, by the time we do this show, we will know who has been practicing in the bowl game. We'll have a better idea of what guys possibly could come back. Charles Turner, Josh Williams, other guys that might have an extra year. And, of course, we'll have already opened up 35-plus presents for you Tiger fans or thereabouts. I got to ask you on the way out, where do you think, from a ranking standpoint, this 24 class is looking like? Are we looking 7, 8, 9, or higher or lower?
I think when it's said and done, they're going to be right there in that realm where you said
7, 8.
Yeah. Whether you think Don McKinley's a 5-star or not, he's got that rating. And I think LSU's in a real good position there right now. And be nice if you could convince him to go ahead and sign early. But, he's going to take it to February, he says, as of now. All right, guys. Thanks for everybody tuning in. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the show. Subscribe, notification bell, and go to TigerBait.com. And thanks again to Buddy for being with me each and every week. And we'll see you guys next week. And, of course, Preston on Monday night. Good night.